Why do some people effortlessly build wealth while others count every penny and still struggle? What if I told you that obsessing over your daily coffee is actually preventing you from becoming wealthy? I'm about to show you a principle discovered over a century ago that explains why most people stay broke despite their best efforts. And more importantly, how you can use it to build serious wealth by focusing on less, not more. Let's get into it. In 1896, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto noticed something fascinating. 80% of Italy's land was owned by just 20% of the population. Even weirder, he saw the same pattern in his garden, where 20% of his pea pods produced 80% of the pea. This became known as the Pareto Principle, or the 80-20th rule. And here's the crazy part. This pattern shows up everywhere. In business, 20% of customers generate 80% of revenue. In your work, 20% of your efforts produce 80% of your results. According to recent wealth distribution data, the richest 20% of Americans own about 86% of the country's wealth. And globally, the richest 1% hold 47.5% of all wealth. That's the 80-20th rule playing out on a massive scale. But here's what blows my mind. Most financial advisors completely ignore this principle. They tell you to track every expense, categorize your spending into dozens of buckets, and obsess over cutting costs wherever possible. They'll shame you about that $4 coffee, tell you to clip coupons, negotiate your phone bill, and cancel streaming services. Sound familiar? Here's the problem. You're focusing your energy on the 80% of decisions that only impact 20% of your financial outcome. You're majoring in the minors while the real wealth-building opportunities pass you by. Let me give you a real example. Meet Sarah. She makes $60,000 a year as a marketing manager. She's been following traditional budgeting advice for 3 years. She tracks every expense in a spreadsheet, brings lunch to work, makes coffee at home, and has successfully cut her monthly spending by about $200. She's proud of her discipline and feels financially responsible. Now meet James. He makes the same $60,000. But he buys coffee every morning, eats lunch at restaurants, and doesn't track his daily expenses. However, James focused his energy on 3 major decisions. He moved to a smaller apartment that reduced his housing costs by $600 per month. He sold his car with a $400 monthly payment and bought a reliable used vehicle with cash. And he negotiated a $10,000 raise by switching to a similar role at a different company who's building wealth faster. James is saving over $1,000 more per month than Sarah, despite spending more on coffee and lunch. The difference isn't discipline or financial knowledge. It's understanding which decisions actually matter. This is the 80-20th rule applied to money. 20% of your financial decisions determine 80% of your wealth-building potential. The problem is most people spend their time and energy on the wrong 20%. So, what are these high-impact financial decisions that actually matter? There are 3 main categories: housing, transportation, and income. These 3 areas represent roughly 80% of most people's expenses and 100% of their wealth-building potential. Let's start with housing, which is typically your largest monthly expense. The difference between spending 30% of your income on housing versus 50% is massive over time. If you make $5,000 per month, the difference between a $1,500 rent payment and a $2,500 rent payment is $12,000 per year. Over a decade! That's $120,000! Not including the investment returns you could have earned on that money. But here's where most people get it wrong. They'll stress about a $20 increase in their utility bill while completely ignoring the fact that they're paying $300 more per month than necessary for their apartment because they wanted granite countertops and a gym in the building. They're optimizing for the wrong variables. According to wealth building research, 80% of your biggest expenditures typically come from just 20% of your lifestyle choices. And housing is almost always number 1 on that list. The same principle applies to transportation. The average car payment in America is now over $700 per month. Add insurance, gas, maintenance, and registration. And you're easily looking at over $1,000 monthly for transportation. Yet most people will spend more time researching the best gas station rewards program than analyzing whether they actually need a car payment at all. Here's a perspective shift that might sting. If you're worried about spending $5 on coffee while simultaneously making a $700 car payment for a vehicle that's worth less every month, you've completely missed the point of financial optimization. You're focusing on saving pennies while hemorrhaging dollars. Let me show you the math that car dealerships don't want you to understand. If you buy a reliable used car for $15,000, with cash instead of financing a new car for $40,000, you're not just saving $25,000 up front. You're avoiding $700 in monthly payments for the next 6 years. That's $50,000 in total payments for something that'll be worth maybe $15,000 when you're done paying for it. But let's say you take that $700 monthly payment and invest it instead of sending it to a car company over 20 years at 8% annually. That becomes over $400,000. Suddenly, the decision to buy a sensible used car instead of a shiny new one becomes a $400,000 decision, not a $25,000 decision. Yet people will spend hours researching the best gas rewards credit card to save $20 per month, while simultaneously signing up for a car payment that will cost them hundreds of thousands in opportunity costs. It's like being worried about a leaky faucet while your basement floods. The third major category is income optimization, and this is where the 80-20th rule becomes almost absurd in its implications. Most people spend zero time actively working to increase their income and all their time trying to shave expenses. They'll clip coupons for 2 hours to save $15, but won't spend 2 hours updating their resume or researching higher-paying opportunities. Here's a reality check. If you make $50,000 per year and you spend your evenings tracking every expense in a budgeting app, you're essentially working a part-time job that pays you maybe a few hundred annually in savings. Meanwhile, if you spent those same evenings developing skills that could increase your income by 20%, you'd earn an additional $10,000 per year. Which sounds like a better use of your time. Optimizing your grocery spending to save $50 monthly or learning new skills that could lead to a $10,000 raise, the math isn't even close. According to data on high-leverage skills, software engineers earn an average of $124,000 to $147,000 annually, while the median U.S. household income is $80,610. That's nearly double the national average for a single skill set. High-leverage skills like software development, digital marketing, sales, and content creation scale your earning potential without proportional increases in time investment. Yet most people choose the low-impact activity of expense optimization because it feels more controllable and provides immediate gratification. The wealthy understand something most people miss entirely. Your income has unlimited upside potential, but your expenses have a natural floor. You can only cut costs so much before you're living in a van eating beans. But there's theoretically no limit to how much you can earn. So why would you focus your energy on the activity with limited potential instead of the one with unlimited potential? This brings us to what I call the budgeting paradox. The more time you spend tracking small expenses, the less time you have available to work on increasing your income. It's like being so focused on organizing your sock drawer that you forget to go to work. You're being productive, but you're being productive on the wrong things. I'm not suggesting you become completely reckless with money or ignore your spending entirely. What I'm suggesting is that you apply the 80-20th rule to determine where your financial energy should be focused. Here's how this looks in practice. Spend 20% of your financial planning time optimizing the big 3 categories: housing, transportation, and income. Spend the remaining 80% of your time actually living your life instead of obsessing over every financial transaction. Your time and mental energy are finite resources. Every minute you spend analyzing whether to buy name brand or generic peanut butter is a minute you're not spending on activities that could dramatically improve your financial situation. It's opportunity cost in action. And most people are making terrible opportunity cost decisions without even realizing it. The successful application of the 80-20th rule to money requires you to be ruthless about identifying which financial activities actually move the needle. Does negotiating your cable bill from $80 to $70 per month move the needle? Barely. Does moving to a cheaper apartment that saves you $400 monthly move the needle? Absolutely. Does using a coupon app to save $3 on your grocery bill move the needle? Does developing a skill that makes you eligible for a promotion with a $15,000 salary increase move the needle? You bet it does. This is why wealthy people often seem financially careless to outside observers. They'll spend $12 on airport coffee without thinking twice, but they'll spend weeks researching real estate markets before making a property investment. They understand that the $12 coffee is in the 80% of decisions that don't matter, while the real estate investment is in the 20% that determines their financial future. The 80-20th rule also explains why most financial advice is completely backwards for wealth building. Traditional advice focuses on what I call financial busy work. Track every expense, create detailed budgets with 20 different categories. Negotiate every bill, use cashback apps, clip coupons, and obsess over minor purchases. This advice keeps you feeling productive while ensuring you never actually build wealth. It's designed to make you feel like you're taking control of your finances while keeping you focused on activities that don't significantly impact your financial outcome. Meanwhile, the actual wealth-building activities are simple but require courage and long-term thinking. Buy less house than you can afford. Avoid car payments. Increase your income aggressively. Invest the difference consistently. These 4 activities represent maybe 20% of financial decision-making, but they determine 100% of your wealth-building success. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people have been conditioned to believe that financial responsibility means obsessing over the smallest details. They've been taught that wealthy people got rich by being extremely frugal, never spending money on anything fun, and tracking every penny religiously. This narrative is not only wrong, it's actively harmful to your wealth-building potential. The real wealthy people I know are surprisingly relaxed about small purchases. They'll order expensive wine at dinner without checking the price, buy organic groceries without comparing cost per ounce, and tip generously at restaurants. But ask them about their housing situation, and they'll tell you they bought a modest home in a good neighborhood rather than stretching for the McMansion they could technically afford. Ask them about transportation, and they'll explain why they drive a reliable Honda instead of leasing a luxury SUV. This seems contradictory until you understand the 80-20th principle. They're loose with money on decisions that don't impact their wealth, and extremely disciplined on decisions that do. They've identified the vital few financial choices that determine their net worth, and they optimize ruthlessly for those while ignoring the trivial many. Most people do exactly the opposite. They'll stress about spending $8 on lunch while simultaneously ignoring the fact that they're overpaying for their apartment by $300 every month. They'll spend 20 minutes researching the cheapest gas station while making zero effort to negotiate their salary or look for better job opportunities. This backwards approach to money management is like being worried about a mosquito bite while ignoring the fact that you're bleeding from a major wound. The mosquito bite is annoying and gets your attention because it's right in front of you. But it's the wound that's actually threatening your health. Let me give you one more powerful example of the 80-20th rule in action. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in the world, famously demonstrated this principle with a $1 million bet he made in 2007. He wagered that a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund would outperform a collection of actively managed hedge funds over a 10-year period. The hedge fund managers were highly sophisticated, used complex strategies, and charged substantial fees for their expertise. Buffett chose the simplest possible approach, investing in an S&P 500 index fund with minimal fees and making no changes for the entire decade. The result: Buffett's simple approach delivered a total return of 125.8%, while the hedge funds returned between 2.8% and 87.7%. The simple strategy focused on the 20% that mattered, while the complex strategies got lost in the 80% that didn't. This same principle applies to every aspect of your financial life. 20% of your habits generate 80% of your financial results. 20% of your investment decisions create 80% of your returns. 20% of your time spent on money management produces 80% of your wealth-building progress. So, here's what you need to do. First, audit your current financial situation. Look at your 3 biggest expenses: housing, transportation, and everything else. Are you overspending on housing? Could you downsize or move to a cheaper area? Are you making a car payment you don't need? Could you sell that car and buy something reliable with cash? Second, calculate how much time you're spending on low-impact financial activities. Are you spending hours every week tracking expenses that don't matter? Could that time be better spent learning a high-end skill or looking for better job opportunities? Third, Identify the 20% of financial decisions that will determine 80% of your wealth. For most people, that's housing cost, transportation cost, and income level. Focus ruthlessly on optimizing these 3 areas. Fourth, automate the rest. Set up automatic savings, automatic bill payments, and automatic investments. Remove the need to think about the 80% that doesn't matter so you can focus your energy on the 20% that does. And fifth, give yourself permission to spend guilt-free on small purchases that bring you joy. If you've optimized your housing, avoided car debt, and you're aggressively growing your income, that $5 coffee doesn't matter. Enjoy it. The 80/20th rule of money isn't just some academic theory. It's the difference between building real wealth and staying busy with financial theater. Stop optimizing your coffee budget. Start optimizing the decisions that actually matter. Your future millionaire self will thank you for focusing on the 20% that counts. If this completely changed how you think about money, hit that like button and subscribe to Finance Flash. We're breaking down the counterintuitive principles that actually build wealth. Drop a comment, which of the big 3 are you going to optimize first? Housing, transportation, or income? All right, let's build that wealth. I'll catch you in the next one.